Huston Smith is a national treasure. His life has been a remarkable journey of the spirit. He is revered as the premier authority on world religions and is the author of 15 books, including The Worlds of Religions, Cleansing the Doors of Perception, Why Religion Matters, and now his latest, Tales of Wonder, Adventures Chasing the Divine. He once said, "If we take the world's enduring religions at their best, we discover the distilled wisdom of the human race." Tonight, in his 90th year, he talks about his friendship with the Dalai Lama, the beauty of Islam, religion and science, the role of psychedelics in his life, reincarnation, his childhood in China, and his remarkable enduring marriage.
Well, it's a great joy to be here. I remember the wonderful evening 4 years ago, and I'm grateful to be coming back to this wonderful place that attracts wonderful people. So thank you all for coming. And I am, my marching orders tell me to say something. This is the contract about your adventurous life. Okay. If I do not do that, why, it's a breach of contract.
We were going to do this.
But I want to begin with two things. The first is not directly related to this evening, but it comes to me by way of my wife, Kendra. And she has pointed out to me, we all know the bad news, the financial meltdown, and it's very serious. However, we do not know as well the good news. And here is the good news that comes by way of my wife, Kendra. Never in recorded history has there been less starvation as there is today. Never in recorded history have as many people lived under governments that they themselves elected. Never in human history has the position of women been as good as it is today. And the last one is a little bit wobbly, but it's getting into place. We are coming to realize that torture is never, never, never justified. So that's the good news. Now, I'm going to ease into my contract by saying I think we all know the definition of a bore. A bore is somebody who talks about himself while you want to be talking about yourself. And so prepare to be bored, because you're going to have to endure me talking about myself, but that's my marching orders, so I obey. Now, when I think back over my life, my childhood in China, very different today than it was 90 years ago. It was a childhood of never again, never again, never again will there be a town of 100,000 people which has never known an engine. Never again will there be a city of 100,000 people where the nights would be as quiet. No fire engines, no planes roaring overhead, absolute silence. In this town, the only sounds one heard were either natural sounds like birds calling, or sounds that human beings made. And when the human beings were asleep, utter silence. Never again will there be a city of 100,000 people where the skies are so black that you can look up at the stars with as clear a vision as if you were on the high up in the Himalayan plateau. That was my childhood. And it was wonderful. I think probably all of us have a kind of a romanticized feeling about our childhood. Think about it for a moment. I mean, here you were, fresh to a world that you had not known before. Beautiful, interesting, and so it was with me. There is a line of poetry, maybe Wordsworth, I'm not sure. There was a time when meadow, hill, and stream to me did seem apparel in celestial light, the wonder and the glory of a dream. It is not now as it has been of yore. The things which then I saw, I now can see no more. I have a friend who, you see, the freshness of a dream makes it all seem magical, but then habituation sets in and casts over that wonderful, glorious, early childhood vision kind of blanket. Now, I've been talking about, in the last couple of minutes, about the magic of childhood that we all share. But now I'm going to branch off on my own. We drive, Kendra and I, well, I no longer drive, but she does the driving for us, a hybrid car. And I am a hybrid. My genes are Western, and my upbringing is Asian. And I am very grateful for that, because I have, you might say, the best of two worlds. I have been a hybrid, privy to two worlds. Now, I want to tell you, any time that I should cease and desist and just open it for questions, I will be happy to do that. But unless you sense that, or maybe we can do it this way. Don't think of this as a lecture. I've retired from lecturing. That was my profession. But about 30 years ago I retired, and I've retired from lecturing. But I do not miss grading papers, and I do not miss giving grades. That was the word, evaluating people. But I miss the classroom. And this evening, you are my classroom. Classrooms abhor silence, and so I am quite capable of speaking. Okay, we have the ground rules in place.
May I ask the first one?
Oh, yeah.
Good. I want to get you to tell some stories. In the mid-1960s, you were invited to Dharamsala to meet the Dalai Lama.
Yeah.
And it was an invitation that was very unexpected on your part. And in fact, you wound up being his teacher on the subject of modern science. He was asking you about this. And Huston, by the way, was the first person that suggested to the Dalai Lama that he come to the United States, that he come to America. And a wonderful friendship of 50 years has developed over that time between the two of them. I wonder if you would share a story or two about you and the Dalai Lama.
Okay, I love stories, and especially about a man as noble as that man is. I think that, before I begin my story, he is kind of a peacemaker in this world, pouring oil on the troubled relations, especially between China and Tibet. Well, this is a long introduction to His Holiness. After those 4 days, why, I rested up a little bit, and then the monk said, well, when are you going to see His Holiness? And I said, well, he hadn't been on my shopping list. He, busy man, the burdens of his people on him. I don't want to end. No. You want to understand our tradition? You have come halfway around the world to do that, and you're not going to meet him. He is the incarnation of our tradition. Well, I began to think a little bit differently. Yes, it might be very nice. So they arranged it, and when I reached the little bungalow, there was one guard there, just a single soldier, and I had an appointment at 10 o'clock, so he let me pass through, and I was going down the Roku, the little narrow part, and he came around the bend, and with this amazing smile, and took my hand, and I remember thinking, you know, I never felt a hand like that. It was so firm, but none of this bone-crunching Texas cowboy kind of thing. Soft and firm. And then we entered his bungalow, and I said to myself, 10 minutes. He's busy. Burdens of his people on his shoulder, and he's been very gracious to give you an audience, but keep it to 10 minutes. So, after 10 minutes, I got up. He rose with me, and I heard him. He was speaking at that time mostly through a translator, Tenzin, and heard him say, however, softly to himself in English, I must decide what is important. A moment's pause, and then as gracious gesture, please be seated. Well, now, what won me the next time I got up was an hour and 3/4 for the most amazing morning of my life. Now, what won me that opportunity turned out to be a ruse, R-U-S-E, an unintentional deception, because in my calling card in the left-hand lower corner, it said Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and he is well known for being very, very interested in science, and he thought he had a real-life scientist in his living room, and he wasn't about to squander that opportunity. So first he had heard of the Big Bang. What's that all about? And so I explained that, and he heard me out, and he nodded his head, and he said, well, that's true. but not quite good enough. It should be the bang, bang, bang theory, because it's like an accordion. It all comes out, but then depending on gravitational fields and so on, it collapses again and goes on like that. So I was happy to tell that, take that refinement back to MIT and bang, bang, bang theory. The other thing, he had heard about DNA, and what was that all about? And I explained it as best I could, and he said through the interpreter that he had asked because he wondered whether it had any bearing on reincarnation, a doctrine which, truth to tell, he has a little vested interest in. But he decided that there was no connection. And that's where there began 65 years of friendship. And in his last book, The Universe in a Single Atom, he lists, he said at one point, when I think like those who have taught me science, why I include Huston Smith, but he adds, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's my Dalai Lama story. Wonderful.
I think it would be appropriate, especially today. You write that in the West today, there is no religion more misunderstood than Islam, that its beauty has been hijacked by politics and ideology. Perhaps you would tell us a little bit about the beauty that you find that you have practiced for all of these years.
Yeah. Well, yeah, gladly. Islam has a bad name in the West today. We think of it, when we hear the word, we think of Taliban and things like that. But that's because we're uneducated. Do you know what the standard greeting in Islam is? Okay, two people meet and shake hands, and I say, Assalamu alaikum, and then you say, alaikum wa salam. And that's the standard greeting. I'm now osteoporosis. I'm in an assisted living a facility, but there's one waitress there that is Arabic in background, and so every day we exchange that. Peace be upon you, and the other response is, and upon you also. Well, now let's compare that to us. What is our greeting? Hi there, how's it going? What's it like? And so on. But I mean, how wonderful to have that as a standard greeting. and also Muhammad. Um, I revere him, an exemplary life, which I will not elaborate now. But I revere him especially for two things. First, he said, marriage is the half of religion. I love that. I love that. And second, when the people in Mecca were trying to wipe him and his 40 or so followers off the map because they protested against the usury of the Meccan potentate. And for Muhammad, they would have killed him and his 20 or 30 followers if the word had not gotten them, and they got up at 2 a.m. and fled 200 miles north to Yathrib. And then for 10 years, there was back and forth skirmishes. Sometimes the Meccans prevailing, sometimes Muhammad. And in one of those skirmishes, Muhammad and his followers had carried the day. And as they went back to their city, Muhammad said, we have triumphed in the lesser jihad. Jihad is literally holy war, only to face the greater jihad, the evil that is in each one of us. And he did not exempt himself from that. Well, you know, that is just inspiring and exemplary.
I really enjoyed listening to you today. And this book opened up my eyes to learn so much about the world religion. Thank you.